At the 2026 World Cup, we're about to witness a wave of historic records fall, many of them chased by players who know this might be their final chance on this stage. Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Modric. And also by players who are right in their prime, like Mbappe, Courtois, and Harry Kane. Some of these records have stood for 50 years. One's been untouched since before the Second World War. And in 2026, every single one of them is suddenly under threat. So let's go through them, one by one. The records that could be broken at the 2026 World Cup. Record number 1. The all-time leading goalscorer in World Cup history. The all-time top scorer in World Cup history is Miroslav Klose, 16 goals across 4 tournaments. Germany's number 9, who was somehow always in the right place at the right time. Klose broke the record that used to belong to Ronaldo during that infamous 7-1 against Brazil. And to make it even crazier, Ronaldo himself was watching from the commentary booth for Brazilian TV. Well, Lionel Messi arrives in 2026 with 13 goals. He needs 4 to take the record, 4 goals across potentially 7 or 8 games. For Messi, at 38, that sounds simple on paper, and honestly, it's not insane to think he can do it. He scored in 2022. He was Argentina's focal point all the way through. And in a tournament this size, with more group games, there are more opportunities. But then there's Mbappe, 12 goals, 27 years old, already one of the most devastating forwards in World Cup history given his age. If Mbappe goes deep into the tournament and hits top gear, which France absolutely can, he could be the one who actually breaks Klose's record. And then there's Harry Kane, 8 goals, needs 9 to equal the record. I know, it sounds ridiculous. But this season, Kane scored 66 goals combined for Bayern Munich and the England national team. If England somehow go all the way and Kane is firing, it's not completely out of the question. Record number 2. The most appearances as a substitute. This one's a bit different, and that's exactly why I love it. This is the record of the famous super sub. The record for most substitute appearances in World Cup history belongs to D. Nielsen, the Brazilian winger who won the World Cup in 2002. He came off the bench a total of 11 times across 2 tournaments. That's the record. 6 times during the 1998 World Cup in France and 5 times in the 2002 World Cup. Marcus Rashford arrives in 2026 with 9 sub-appearances, 2 short of tying the record, 3 short of breaking it. And knowing how England tend to use Rashford, explosive off the bench, high impact in short bursts, this is actually a realistic target. Well, now record number 3. Most wins in World Cup history. Back to Klose again. Miroslav Klose has the most wins in World Cup history. 17 victories across his 4 tournaments with Germany. Messi enters 2026 with 16 wins. He is 1 single victory away from tying Klose's record. Just 1 win. Argentina's opening game of the group stage could be enough to put him level. And what I love about this one is it's got nothing to do with magic moments or wonder goals. It's just winning. Over and over for 20 years. 5 World Cups, finals, the lot. Messi's been through all of it, and in 2026 he might quietly tick off one more record nobody's even talking about. Well, and if you're enjoying this, drop a like and subscribe. We're doing this all the way to 2026, and there's a lot more coming. My name is Alex, this is Football Interest, and I really want to turn this channel into a place where we can talk, debate, and exchange ideas about international football. Right, let's back to it. Record number 4. Oldest player to score in the knockout stage. Now this is a record that feels like it was made for this exact moment in football history. The current holder is Pepe. The Portuguese center-back scored at the 2021 World Cup against Switzerland in the round of 16 at 39 years and 8 months old, which made him the oldest player to score in a World Cup knockout game. But in 2026, we're going to have Cristiano Ronaldo at 41 years old, Luka Modric at 40, and potentially Edin Dzeko, if Bosnia qualify, also approaching that same age bracket. But honestly, this record really feels like one Cristiano Ronaldo himself is going to break. At 41, he's still genuinely fit, still sharp, still scoring. And that's what makes this record one of the most likely on the entire list to fall. Because Portugal is one of the deepest, most talented generations in world football right now. Now, moving on to the next record, record number 5. Youngest player to win the Golden Ball at the World Cup. Right, complete switch. We've done the veterans, now the kid. The youngest ever to win the Golden Ball best player of the tournament was Ronaldo. The original, the Brazilian one. He did it in 1998 at just 21 in a World Cup France won with Zidane running the show, and Ronaldo still stood out. Lamine Yamal will be 18 at 2026 World Cup, and he's going as one of Spain's best players. He was already ridiculous at Euro 2024. Well, for me, he was the best Spanish player at the Euros. But could he win it at 18? Well, that beats Ronaldo's record by 3 years. But if Spain go deep and Yamal's the one dragging them there, and that's very much on the table, it stops being a fantasy fast. And then there's Desiree Doué, who's only 20 years old and definitely deserves to be in the conversation too. He's a bit more of an outside shout, but he's definitely worth keeping an eye on, especially because France are one of the favorites, and Doué keeps playing well for PSG. Now, the next record. Record number 6, most World Cup matches as a manager. Let's talk about the managers for a second. The most matches ever managed at a World Cup belongs to Helmut Schön, the German coach who took his side through 25 games across multiple World Cups during the 1960s and 70s. 25 matches. That's an extraordinary number when you think about how hard it is just to qualify and stay competitive tournament after tournament. Didier Deschamps enters 2026 with 19 matches as France manager at World Cups. He's been to 2 finals, winning in 2018, losing in 2022. If France reach the quarterfinals, he equals Schön's record. If they reach the semifinals, he breaks it. Well, France have the squad to go all the way. And Deschamps, for all the criticism he sometimes gets for his cautious style, has shown he knows exactly how to navigate a World Cup. And while we're on Deschamps, there's one more managing record in play in 2026, and this one's been waiting nearly 90 years for someone to touch it. So, the record number 7. Manager with the most World Cup titles. Vittorio Pozzo, the Italian coach who won the World Cup in 1934 and then went back and won it again in 1938. The only manager in history to win 2 World Cups. That record is now around 90 years old and nobody has matched it. Think about everyone who has coached at this tournament since then. Zagallo, Franz Beckenbauer, Marcelo Lippi, Joachim Löw, Scolari, and still, Pozzo stands alone. In 2026, 2 managers have a shot at joining him. Well, Didier Deschamps, he won it in 2018 with France. If he wins again in 2026, he equals Pozzo. Then there's Lionel Scaloni. He won it in 2022 with Argentina. If Argentina defend their title, which would make them back-to-back world champions, Scaloni also equals Pozzo. The weight of that would be enormous. Argentina, consecutive titles, and Scaloni's name alongside one of the founding figures of World Cup history. Well, the record might not be broken in 2026, but after nearly 90 years, it could finally be equaled. And that alone would be one of the most significant moments in the history of football management. Now, next, record number 8, most clean sheets in World Cup history. Moving to goalkeepers, and a record that 2 legends share. Peter Shilton and Fabien Barthez, England and France, 2 of the greatest goalkeepers their countries have ever produced, both sitting on 10 clean sheets in World Cup history. No one has managed more. Thibaut Courtois enters 2026 with 7. He needs 3 clean sheets to equal the record and 4 to break it outright. Now, Belgium's World Cup story has been a difficult one. They had a golden generation that never delivered. But Courtois individually has always performed at the highest level. His 2022 World Cup was remarkable even as Belgium went out early. If Belgium tighten up defensively and go deep into the tournament, Courtois has a legitimate shot. 7 is already a serious number. And a goalkeeper of his quality, in a format with more games, playing at the peak of his powers, 3 more clean sheets is not an unreasonable target. Now, record number 9. Most appearances in World Cup history. Lionel Messi already holds this record. 26 appearances across 5 World Cups. He is the most capped player in World Cup history. But here's what makes 2026 interesting. Cristiano Ronaldo sits just behind on 22 appearances. If Portugal go deep, and with their squad, they can. Cristiano could climb past Lothar Matthäus on 25 and close right in on Messi. In a tournament where teams that go far now play up to 8 games, it's not impossible that Cristiano equals or even overtakes Messi at the top of this list, especially if Argentina were to exit earlier than Portugal. So while Messi is almost certain to extend the record, he might not be the only one chasing it. For once, the 2 of them could be fighting over the very same milestone at the very same tournament. Now, record number 10. Player with goals scored in the most different World Cup editions. This might be the most incredible record on the whole list. Cristiano Ronaldo has scored in 5 different World Cups. 2006, 2010, 2014, 2018, 2022. 5 World Cups. Nobody else has ever done that. In 2026, if he scores 1 goal, just 1, He becomes the first player in history to score in 6 different World Cups. Think about that. World Cup goals in every decade from the 2000s to the 2020s. A 20-year span of scoring at World Cups, at 41. Argue all you want about whether Portugal should still be picking him. Fair enough, that's a real debate. But the scale of that, you can't really argue with that. Now, record number 11. Most World Cup assists. Here's one that I think people sleep on. Pelé is the all-time leader in World Cup assists. 10 assists in 14 games, or 8, depending on which modern tracking standard you use. Either way, he sits at the top of the list. Messi has 8. Maradona also finished on 8. If Messi breaks Pelé's record, he doesn't just become the greatest player of his generation. He becomes, by the numbers, the most complete attacking player in World Cup history. Most appearances, most wins, close to the most goals, and now the most assists. Do you think Messi has already surpassed Pelé historically? Let me know your opinion in the comments. Personally, I don't think so. In my view, football just became the biggest sport in the world largely because of Pelé. Well, now record number 12. Most goal involvements in World Cup history. This one connects directly to what we just talked about. Goals and assists combined, direct contributions to goals, and Messi sits right at the top. Messi is on 21, 13 goals, 8 assists. Pelé is on 20, 12 goals, 8 assists. And Miroslav Klose is on 19, with 16 goals and 3 assists. If Messi scores or assists even once in 2026, he extends his own record and leaves Pelé further behind. And given that Messi has always been as much a creator as a goalscorer, this is one of the more likely records to actually move. Next one, record number 13, most goals in a single World Cup. Now this one is almost certainly safe, but almost is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Just Fontaine, the French legend, 1958, 13 goals in a single tournament in just 6 games, at a World Cup where France finished 3rd. It is one of the most untouchable records in football history. No one has come remotely close since. The closest anyone managed was Ronaldo in 1998 with 8 goals, and that still felt like an enormous achievement. But here's the wrinkle. 2026 will have more games. A team that goes all the way from the group stage to the final could play up to 8 matches. That's more games than Fontaine had. More opportunities for a striker who hits top form at exactly the right time. Maybe Mbappé? Kane? Haaland? Realistically, 13 is still a huge number, even with a player potentially playing 8 games. But I'll be honest, there's a part of me that loves that after 70 years of this record being a museum piece, the format has finally cracked the door open even an inch. It won't fall. But for once, you can't say it's impossible. Record number 14. Most World Cup editions played. One more record. And this one is shared. In 2026, Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Guillermo Ochoa are all set to compete in their 6th World Cup. No player in the history of the tournament has ever done that before. 6 editions. That covers roughly 20 years of football at the highest level. In 2026, all 3 of them will be making history simply by being there. So there you have it. One tournament, and the genuine possibility of a wave of records falling that we haven't seen at a single World Cup before. Messi and Mbappé chasing close for goals. Cristiano trying to score in a 6th edition. Yamal threatening to become the most decorated 18-year-old in World Cup history. Deschamps and Scaloni going after a record that has survived since before the Second World War. Now here's what I want to know. Of all the records I just went through, which one do you think won't be broken? Is there one that feels too big, too unlikely, even with everything lined up? Drop it in the comments your opinion. And if this topic interested you, there's another video on the channel that goes even deeper into the road to 2026. Go have a watch. See you in the next one.